Well, hello everyone, and welcome back to Man and Machine here with the PeakBot team, Dillon and Ben, and normally Mark Phillips from Harvested Financial, but Mark is not in office on air this morning. No worries, the show will go on, and Mark will be back next Monday. So he's taking care of business. We'll take care of it here. Happy Monday morning. Hopefully everybody had a great weekend in what is now summer, wherever you're living. I guess it was pretty nice here, Ben. I like to normally complain about the New Jersey weather. I didn't have much to complain about. Hey there, Doug. Happy new week. Ben, how are you, man? What's going on?
I'm doing good. The weekend was really nice. A couple of nice days. Got outside quite a bit. Happy with that. Yeah, man. Good vibes.
Any barbecue? Did you grill or anything?
We had some barbecue. I tried. So we got some burnt end / pork brats.
Whoa!
And yeah, it was like a combo. It was really good.
Okay, that does sound really good. We were just talking backstage. I went to Tommy's Tavern and Tap, which is a chain. I have like everything on the menu. Really good, like food for me. Ben hasn't loved it. We'll disagree on it. Maybe one day they'll be publicly traded or owned by a publicly traded company, and you can go bearish and I'll go bullish. Anyway, today on the agenda without Mark is a few things. We're going to be doing our stock in real life. Okay, we're going to be talking about JNJ today, so hang tight. We've definitely I've traded that stock in the past on other brokerage accounts, so I'm not sure if I'll be able to pull live trades, but we'll see. We'll put together a trade idea just by looking at the charts and the watch list and everything else. Wouldn't be financial advice, of course. And then Ben's going to take us through some more a good education session on building our King Condor strategy and certain parameters that went into it and how we went through the decision-making process there. So and we'll take a look at some economic events, what's happening this week, what to look out for, what bots are on and or off, and we'll talk through hot bots and probably just take a glance at our positions. Let's get into it. Ben, before we get into it, green week or a red week for you last week with your portfolio? Now, you got a lot going on. You're the one testing a lot of the strategies in beta on top of everything else. But
Yep.
How'd you do?
I think my Tradier account was red, but my other brokerage accounts were green.
We took a loss on King Condor Friday, which that's what hurt us a little bit. But we'll get into it.
That's what hurt. Yeah, I think so. Tough to tell because there were some trades that I made for some bots that were testing that took some big losses, but those were all tests, so
gotcha.
Wouldn't count towards my personal trading P&L.
Perfect. So yeah, I think I lost about $200 on the week, but over the last 2 months, and I put this post out, I am up. Where's my numbers here? $5,800 across my two accounts, which is, I believe, roughly a 26% return for my two accounts, mostly on the back of our King Condor strategy. Couple other trades that we sprinkled in, wins and losses, but that King Condor 1DTE SPX strategy has been absolutely crushing it. And Ben, we talk about it's a next gen strategy. That's the phrase I'm going with until you guys tell me to go
next
otherwise.
Next gen AI strategy.
Oh, there we go. That's so much better. Next gen AI strategy, King Condor. What does that mean? It means that it's making decisions. Well, that sounds weird. I shouldn't say it's making decisions. The code is built to follow certain criteria, okay? To avoid heightened volatility if VIX is too high, if there's too much of an overnight gap, if Trump is talking, if it's an FOMC day, all of these things, the bot will not trade, okay? So it's playing defense for you when it should, and it's playing offense for you when it should, okay? Based on what's out there. So, Ben, let's get into it, man. Where do we want to start? Let's go into Johnson & Johnson, stock in real life.
Yeah, let's do stocks in real life. Let's get that on stage here. JNJ. I know Thomas is a big fan of trading JNJ. And I'll tell you what, ever since we made these updates to trend spread and we revamped the watch list and now it's only showing tickers with EV above -2%.
Yeah.
Or Johnson & Johnson is pretty consistently on that watch list.
It is? Okay, I thought you were going to go the other way with that.
No. Even with those strong filters on, it's usually on that watch list. Now, we might be hard-pressed to find anything on the watch list right now because of weekend data. When the market opens, that watch list will get repopulated. We should probably maybe start taking screenshots on Fridays, so that way our watch list doesn't it's usable for this show. Did you by any chance get a second to look at the watch list, see if it's on there right now? I did.
Yeah, so it's not on trend spread right now. It is actually on the vertical wheel watch list in a neutral trend.
Okay.
So
good thought. Wheel would be a good place to find all of these tickers if they're not on the filtered trend spread watch list.
So I'll just share it very quickly. So trend spread, it's not there, but here's JNJ on the vertical wheel watch list. And again, it could populate when the market opens and we get the fresh data in here. Check trend spread if you like what you're seeing as we go over Johnson & Johnson today. And I do want to talk about our real life experiences with it if we have any. I have one. But here we go. Trading at least closed around just shy of 155, neutral trend, which is okay for the wheel. All right. Obviously, you prefer bullish, but that's just based on about the 3-month EMA. The strike would be at 152.5, and maybe we should just chart this, and then we can talk about other trade ideas. But if it's on the wheel watch list, I'm still trading the wheel. It is all reliable here. It's collecting $33 in premium. With a sold put at 152.5. Ben, do you happen to be pulling up the chart somewhere?
I can on TradingView, yes.
Here, I can as well, actually. Why don't I just do it? I got it up. All right, so tradingview.com. We want to get on to JNJ. And I'm just going to show you guys what we have on the wheel watch list. This is as of Friday's data. The wheel wouldn't enter until today around 11 a.m. Eastern. So please, not financial advice, but if you like what we're seeing here, get the fresh data when the market opens this morning on the watch list, okay? If you don't have access to the watch list, sign up for PeakBot at peakbot.com. You can either get access to our alerts, okay, for $5 a week. That's the watch lists. Or if you're ready to automate, just get started. And you can get 6 months. We got to do it right now, right?
You got to do it.
All right, hold on. Get 6 months free, okay? Oh, let's get our silly banner out of there. It wasn't silly. It was about not financial advice. 6 months free access to PeakBot's Pro subscription, okay? Grab it right now at peakbot.com/Tradier, TRADIER, okay? Or scan the QR code. You're getting 6 months pro, all access to all PeakBot's live strategies, and Tradier Pro free for 6 months, okay? That's commission-free options trading. So, all right, we're on JNJ here. I'm going to go back to the watch list. Again, this data, if I liked it, would take another look in the market today or when the market opens. But 152.5. All right, so here we are. Oh, we got to zoom out. Let's go to the last month. Oh, we hate when that happens.
You're looking at the 30-minute chart there, Dillon. Maybe change it to the daily.
I will. Let's get to the dailies. All right, so here is, I don't know why I have this line on here. Here's 152.5. All right, so if we zoom in here, we can tell that, we've been bullish since the middle of May here. However, we've definitely seen some consolidation here over the last week or two, we'll call it, right? There seems to be maybe some, I don't know, Ben, what do you see looking at this? Maybe the real resistance is, you could say, up by 157, 157.70, but
yeah, I'd say if we broke out of 160, that would be, in my opinion, a bullish break.
Clear breakout,
yeah. And then we've got some room to move to the downside, which is slightly concerning. It does look like we're forming a bit of a wedge on the last couple of months. Yeah, overall, I was just looking at my Tradier account, and I do have one trade on Johnson & Johnson.
You do?
Like I do, yeah. And it was actually last week.
Okay, let's talk about it. You want to pull it up?
Yeah, here, I'll get rid of that, add that on here. So this was a trend spread trade. Now, normally I have not traded Johnson & Johnson in the past. Why? What were you going to say, Dillon?
I refrained. I was gonna ask if this was one of the trades that you've left on by accident, but that was trades for this week.
Oh no, it's trades for this week. I've got trades on by accident this week.
My apologies.
Which I'm not too happy about.
We can check in on those.
So I got into Johnson & Johnson on May 30th, got out on June 2nd. So actually that's 2 weeks ago, I think.
All right, so I'm going to mark it on the calendar. So May 30th to the 2nd.
Now, I normally don't trade, or I didn't trade Johnson & Johnson with our trend spread bot. Why? Because I felt like the spreads were too wide for the premium that we were getting in return. With the update to trend spread, where we're just going one strike out for our spreads, that changes the game. I liked the premium I was getting for the risk, and the spreads are $2.50. So, it looks like for my $2.50 spread here, I earned 43 minus 12. That's $31 in premium there. And then on Monday, I just took that theta decay win over the weekend, that weekend win, and I bought it back for 19 minus 4. So that's 15. So 31 minus 15, that's $16. Just I
have it charted.
Quick trade. You got it charted?
Yeah. So I think, tell me how we feel about this. By the way, nice trade. Nice dub. So you were bearish on it under 157.5, if I read that correctly. Okay.
Yes.
So you entered on it Friday, May 30th. Okay.
Yep.
2 Fridays ago. Now I have this expiration line because I'm assuming this was a 7 DTE trade that you took profit on early, right?
Yes.
So the premium you collected up front was due to the fact that you were going to go in this trade for 7 days, but you entered Friday, and here on Monday, June 2nd, you took profit because you were well out of the money. We weren't even close to 157.5, and you got out. Now, did the bot take profit automatically? Was that a 60% snipe, or did you do that manually?
I did it manually.
Nice. Okay.
So that's... I think I really, and I've come to learn this by trading SqueezeBot.
Yeah.
But I've come to really enjoy letting the bot get me in positions and then letting myself decide if I want to get out. Like trend spread, for example. Yeah, exactly. Like trend spread, for example. I think that when you see profit on the table for trend spread, in my opinion at least, I want to take that profit off the table because things could move very quickly and you're not winning as much as you could potentially lose on trend spread. So I do want to take that risk off the table as much as I can. King Condor is a bit different because your wins are greater than your losses.
Yeah.
I'm going to let those run through expiration, even if it's just to make an extra 10, 15 bucks, because one, you're buying back those options contracts, and then two, because we're trading SPX on King Condor, we're paying fees to do it, right? So buying back a contract for 10 cents is actually like 15 cents after fees. And then when you add up $15, add up $15 over the course of, let's say it traded 4 times in a week, that's $60, right? $60 times, you call it 50 weeks, like $3,000, that adds up. That really eats into your return. Whereas I think the risk is somewhat minimal. Debatable when you're in the actual position, seeing things happen in real time, but that's my opinion. So
okay, so JNJ profitable. I will check right now if I have any JNJ trades. I don't think I do, but I'm gonna check. My real life really cool. Oh, I do. Whoa, dude, I blew it, man. I got so many JNJ trades in here.
Oh, you do?
Yeah, and we're not going to go through it all, but maybe what I can do while we're doing something else is export this and just see if I'm profitable or not. But
let's just see trade
log. A lot of JNJ back in November.
Look at that.
So these were all trend spread trades. Okay, so it looks like mostly bearish, right? So a bunch of call spreads I'm seeing here. I got a put spread here. This is March of this year. You know what? Let's organize this a little bit better. You know what? Let's do this. So yeah, now we're going all the way back to November of last year. Call spread. Because remember, Ben Thomas was taking it on PeakBot picks on paper every week, bearish. With Procter Gamble, JNJ, Pepsi, bearish.
Kid loves
so I ended up taking the trades a lot. And I bet, looking at this, I bet I am profitable on JNJ. But yeah, okay, I've traded it a lot. Before, that's on the old trend spread. Spreads were a bit wider. I think JNJ was handing out some nice premium for a 7-day contract with like a $5 spread. Anyway, all right. My real life experience with Johnson & Johnson is I worked for the New York Jets, owned by the Johnsons, in some capacity. Yeah, because they were in
the same Johnsons.
Huh?
Is it the same Johnson family?
Yeah, that's them.
Yeah.
Chris
really?
Johnson.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. The brothers, they run the team. I shouldn't say they run the team. They might as well run the team. They own the team. Yeah, Johnson & Johnson football or Jets.
Woody Johnson.
Yeah, Woody Johnson. Yeah, see, I'm not losing my mind. Co-owner of the New York Jets. And then his brother, I think is Chris. Don't quote me on that. But yeah,
it is.
They're around.
They bought the Jets for $635 million in 2000.
Look, I know the NFL owns a day of the week, but I don't know if that's a good investment. That just feels like a lot of money for the New York Jets.
Well, I bet you they're worth a few billion now.
They're one of the top. They are, just because of they're in the New York City. They're always on those lists of top like 10, 15 most valuable franchises with like the Cowboys and the Lakers.
And do you have any guess at what the Jets are currently valued at?
Yeah, let me guess. Seriously, I didn't look it up. Couple billion, like almost 4 billion or something.
Okay, I'm seeing a lot of different numbers right now, but hold on. Let me get to, there's an article by Forbes calculated August 2024, $6.9 billion. So that's a great investment. The Johnsons 10x of their return in the matter of 25 years.
Here's what I'm seeing. I'm going to pull it up. I don't know if you're on the same list. This is a USA Today list. Yeah. So Forbes list of most valuable sports teams of 2024. We got the Dallas Cowboys at 10.1 billion. And that's ridiculous, right? They haven't won a championship in 25 years, 30 years, and they're still like
longer than that, yeah.
Winners. Another one that hasn't won in a very long time, but it's the Knicks, the most famous. Yep. Anyway, yeah, look at the Jets just sneaking in here. MetLife Stadium, man, holds 90,000 fans. They are the Jets. Fun fact, and then we'll get back into Johnson & Johnson and maybe another trade idea. Fun fact about the New York Jets. They are, year in and year out, and you can look this up, number 2 in attendance in the NFL every year. Do you know that?
Wow.
Only because they have the most seats behind Jerry World in Dallas.
Yeah,
but what it does mean is they sell more seats than the Giants.
Yeah, nobody wants to go see the Giants play either.
No, they sell more seats than the Giants. All right, let's get back into Johnson & Johnson. Ben, do you have any personal experiences with Johnson & Johnson?
Like personal experience? I mean, the only problem, and probably the medicines and drugs that are provided. But the thing that comes to mind is like the COVID-19 vaccine. Like
Didn't they fumble the bag there a little bit?
I think so, because everybody went to like Moderna, right? Moderna was, or Pfizer.
And Pfizer?
Moderna was the big one, I think.
I think Johnson & Johnson had the one shot, the all-in-one shot, which people were like a little weird about because nobody else was just doing the all-in-one shot.
Yeah.
Yeah. But look, they're a humongous company. Let's do this. Ben, any guesses on J&J IPO?
I would guess probably 1950s. I'm guessing decades now. I'm not even trying to
Yeah,
pin
that's
down
fair.
the actual
You're
date.
not far. 1944 went
Okay.
IPO at $37.50 per share. I have this Johnson & Johnson article up, and it's 19 fun facts about what the world looked like when Johnson & Johnson went public.
You know, why don't we share that, and then we'll get into the King Condor segment.
All right, I have good news and bad news. I think it's a video cloud was not found. All right, wasn't meant to be. It's a listen to an article. We're not going to do it.
We're not going to do that.
All right, 1944. Ben, do we want to look at any other chart? Do we want to look at the JNJ chart again to see if we can form another trade idea?
Let's come up with a trade idea. We can do that.
Let's do it. I'm going to look for any. Do they have earnings coming up or anything? No, kind of out of that.
JNJ, what do we see on screen? We see they pay a dividend quarterly. Last earnings was back in April, so then they're not due until May, June, July. So we've got some time before earnings. Remember, this is probably going to be a weekly trade, but we don't need to confine ourselves to a weekly trade. No. What I was talking about before, about a wedge that I'm kind of seeing, is kind of forming this wedge here.
Yeah,
and that could cause a bullet or bearish breakdown, just based on charting analysis. But again, I'm not the biggest believer in trend lines on charts, because if you zoom into and just analyze this time period, look at that very clear bullish uptrend. We will see. So if
I think it's bearish.
If we're thinking about this in the short term, I would have agreed with you, Dillon, until probably last week, where we kind of held at this level around 155. Pre-market, we are at 155 as well. I would have assumed, and again, just lines on charts here, I would have assumed we would have stayed within this trend down here. But maybe the trend down is more like this. And then this line of resistance actually makes more sense around this level, probably around the 157.50 strike. So we might see a bounce off of that. I think for me, Johnson & Johnson's pretty close to some focal points here. So, but if I had to trade it, I would probably trade I would probably want to sell the 160 strike.
Okay, so you're bearish on it. You would sell a call spread under 160. Let's see what it looks like here. I have the chain up.
Okay, I'm gonna take a look at
for expiring Friday. So here, let's finish. All right. Whoa! Look at that analyst. I mean, I love
the analyst rating. Where the heck did the technical analysis go?
Scroll down. It's not on there. You're not losing it.
Is it because I'm zoomed?
I had it just before. Here, I have it. So 1 week, it's very bearish. Here, I'll pull up my screen down. So here are the oscillators. All right, so 1 day we're bullish. 1 week we're pretty bearish. 1 month we're just about as bearish. Although the analyst ratings say the opposite. Again, we're still looking pretty short term here. Those analyst ratings are for the next year. Okay. 1 year forecast minimum under 153. Could see as high as 170, 185. Price targets at 170. So, okay. Ben, all right. So here, you said you like under 160. So if we were going to go with, I got to get the right expiration date. Okay. So you want to say
sell that.
Gold call under 160?
Sell that, buy the next strike. Just a weekly spread.
162.5.
What are we looking at?
We are looking at, not much. 8 cents.
Yeah.
All right. So then here. What about a condor? What if we were to say 157.5 Okay, because I think that's gonna obviously that's a strike, right? So under 157.5 and above, that's a little tight there. I wonder if that's going
We
to pay
probably
anything.
have to sell the 157.5 to get any sort of premium.
And then I wonder if we were gonna. So let's go back. Let's clear this out, or let's reset. Let's come back into the chains here. JNJ for this Friday. If we were gonna do a call, sold call 157.5, a bought call at 160, and then on the put side, do we think there's going to be anything here? Maybe not. If we were to do this. All right. Let's chart this out. It's a lot of that's a lot of premium.
That's looking better. Yeah.
All right. So what we're talking about here is then 157.5 and 152.5. It's tight though, Ben. I don't feel good about it looking at it.
No.
That's too tight. I mean, I get it. We've pretty much stayed within it since last 2 Tuesdays ago. But that's a little tight. I don't know if I like that very much. If we were to come down here, now I'm starting to like this. If we were to switch this to 150, and then I can go $1 after that. Does that make sense, Ben?
Yeah.
Okay. I starting to like this more.
Dollar risk to the downside, $2.50 risk to the upside, where if we're feeling bearish on it anyway, so the dollar risk on the downside is not too bad.
Yeah, 32.
I don't mind that trade.
157. All right, so we'd want to stay within here by for end of Friday. So that's this right here where we'd be looking at daily charts. I don't know. We don't have rules for this, but if we could produce a trade idea on this show, of course, A, it's not financial advice, and B, do we have to take it? I don't know. We probably should if we're going to put a trade idea out there. I don't know.
Too early to take it now anyway. We can't get
too early. Review it with the updated watch list in 30 minutes. How about that? All right. Cool. Anything else on Johnson & Johnson, Ben?
Nope. Let's get on over to the bot shop.
Cool. Let's do it.
Cool. So Mark is not with us today. He is out on vacation. Good for him.
He's alive.
He's alive. He's still alive. Did I make that sound like he wasn't? No,
he's not with us. Mark isn't with us today. I mean, not really, but I had to take this shot. Go ahead.
Mark's not with us any longer. Mark's on vacation. I will be covering the learning segment for the bot shop today. The bot shop is where we break down PeakBot's currently best strategy, the King Condor, and we're looking at all of the components. We've looked at the time of day to have the entry. We took a look at the width of the spreads. We took a look at days to expiration. Today, we are going to be looking into Delta. What Delta is the King Condor trading at? What would the King Condor trade look like if we traded different deltas? What is the best route to go here? So again, reminder, here is the base King Condor. This is what is currently live and available for everybody to automate with. Love that equity curve. I just can't get enough of it, and it's continuing to crush as the weeks go on. We'll get into these data points here in just a minute, but we need to talk a little bit about Delta. And we've got the 10 Delta, the 20 Delta, and the 30 Delta. Those are the different levels of Delta that we are going to be taking a look at today and see how the King Condor strategy would have performed with these different deltas. So I'll zoom in a little bit more here. So starting with the 10 Delta, and then just for reference, the King Condor as it is now sits at the 20 Delta. So we're looking at 10 below and 10 above. So 10 Delta, and I've tested a lot of different strategies at the 10 Delta. It does produce a very high win rate. And as you can see in the bullets here, typically with set it and forget it strategies, Tough to do that, especially in the market these days. Just set and forget a strategy with all the bouncing around that happens whenever there's just a lot of market events that happen to move prices very quickly. So I wouldn't say set and forget, but yes, high win rates with the 10 delta. However, you're not getting paid as much premium as you could. Now, Dillon, we've experienced this, and there are some really good low delta strategies, and there's some really bad low delta strategies.
Yeah.
One of the really good low delta strategies is Max's org bot and his statistical based strategy, right? We see a very high win rate. He's got stop loss parameters built in, so it's not necessarily a set and forget strategy. It is a set and forget type bot. Actually, I'm just kidding. Nothing's really set and forget. You always want to keep an eye on your positions. But
Yes.
the 10 delta as a proxy means you roughly have a 10% chance of that contract being in the money. When we're selling options, we don't want to be in the money. We want to be out of the money. So if you flip that 10, 100 minus 10, you got a 90% shot at winning that trade just based off of the delta here. Yes, that is another major con that we see, Doug. For example, on a $5 wide, call it 0 or 1 DT SPX trade, you could generate, I'll say, 30 to 50 cents in premium, depending on volatility at the time, which means if you let that just ride, let those losses ride through expiration, you're going to lose $450 to $470 just to make 30 or 50. Now, depending on your strategy, maybe that works. However, we like to build in some stop loss criteria. But yeah, that's why we tend not to go towards the 10 delta unless it's 0 DT with very strict stop loss criteria. But yeah, the pros, higher win rate, the cons, less reward, more of a loss. The 20 delta is, in my opinion, where PeakBot strategies should sit at, right? And we just made an update to the trend spread strategy to where we were at the 30 delta. We moved it down to the 22 delta to increase that win rate. Why would we want to do that? There's a bunch of reasons. And as a bot provider, we always want to have the trader's best interest in mind. And one of the things that we saw was people want to see a bit of a higher win rate. How do we adjust that win rate? We can move the delta down. And then how do we adjust for overall risk reward? Well, that's why we cut down the size of the spread for our trend spread strategy to cut down on that potential loss.
Yeah, and sorry to jump in
and
cut off, but one thing to mention too is unlike King Condor, where it's an SPX only strategy, trend spread in the update we made there's a watch list to select from. So you as the end user are still very much involved in the trades you're making, right? You got to guess the trend correctly. So when there's, when the retail trader has to still make that decision on the stock, we as the bot provider want to try to give you the best shot in winning. So we're going to tighten the spreads. We're going to lower the delta. But again, back to King Condor, a little different. Ben, I'll give it back to you.
Yeah, all good. No, good insight there. So it is, as we have noted here, a balance between high probability and higher premium. It does still give you options to manage, as we have seen with the King Condor, right? Dillon, like if one of our legs is getting tested and we want to hop in manually, well, there's enough premium on the bone there for us to still make a trade out of it and potentially win what looks to be moving into a losing position. The cons, of course, and as I just alluded to, the wings of the Condor will get tested more often because they are not as far, they're not placed as far out of the money, right? With the 10 delta, we're going pretty far out. With the 20 delta, we're going to be a few strikes closer to the money. So we need less of a movement in the overall price of SPX to actually get have those wings tested, right? It's going to have a little bit of a lower win rate. Remember that the delta is a proxy for our probability of profit. So roughly 80% probability of profit. That does change because of stop loss parameters, so on and so forth, but we'll just say 80%-ish. And that's per leg. And then we have to keep an eye on market conditions when we're bringing our strike prices closer to the money, and that's why the King Condor bot scans for economic events. It scans for when Trump is going to be speaking, and it scans for a number of different VIX indicators. So it's looking for these different conditions before it actually places a trade. And that's, again, because we're placing at the 20 delta. And then if we look at the 30 delta, you're going to get a lot more premium on the 30 delta. It's definitely tempting, I'll say, to trade a 30 delta because you still feel fairly far out from the money. But if you get even the slight move in the wrong direction, that position could all of a sudden become a losing position, becomes a little bit more difficult psychologically, at least, to manage. Now, premium, you still got more premium on the bone to work with, as we've been talking about. But so you're going to earn a lot more premium. You're going to lose a lot more, though. You're going to have that lower probability of profit. Remember, with the 10 delta, you have roughly a 90% probability of profit. With a 30 delta, you have about a 70% probability of profit. And the way that the King Condor trades, it trades both legs separately. So each leg, it's typically the case in the loss, and it's happened only twice over the last 3 years where both sides lose because of our stop losses. But it's typically the case where just one side of the King Condor is going to lose. So I can tell you from the 20 delta, the actual win rate is around 56% on the entire trade. Now, in the back test here, you'll see on the next screen on the 20 delta, there's a 77% win rate on each leg, which is very close to that 80% that we're saying for the 20 delta. Yeah. So with the 30 delta, you're going to get more premium. Those wings are going to be tested much more often. You're going to lose more. And again, it's tougher to manage in fast-moving environments, and we've definitely been in a fast-moving environment with this market. So let's take a look at the impact on results. So,
man, I love this.
We will cover the 20 delta. This is the base. This is what's live now. So remember these numbers. We've got 25.6 profit, 53.3 annual return, and 6.7 drawdown, and a pretty nice looking P&L. Now at the 10 delta, and we should take a look at winning percentage too. So we have a 77.7% win percentage. That's, again, close to that 80% that we were talking about. Now the 10
and this
delta
is per leg. This is
per leg
specific. So
per
the
leg.
overall bot, just so we know, the win rate at the way it's set up around 20 delta, around 56-ish%. But I want to make that clear to anybody who's going to be like, well, why isn't it winning 80% of the time?
Yep. Totally right. Totally right. So the 10 delta, as we can see, has a much higher win percentage, 88.9. Again, close to that 90%. That's our proxy at the 10 delta. However, we go from 25.6 thousand in profit to only 8.6 thousand in profit. We go from a 53% annual return to a 23% annual return, which still really good, honestly. Good. And then we go from a max drawdown of 6.7 to 10.2. We do get a higher win rate. We get more wins, but you can see that the more wins, the equity curve just isn't as smooth. And that's because it's taking longer for those wins to recoup any losses.
Yeah.
And that's kind of the true negative impact that you see when trading these low delta strategies. It takes a long time to make up for a loss.
And by the way, Ben's doing all this in Option Omega. Not an ad, but hey, if you're listening, Option Omega, we'd love to chat, figure out how we can work together even more. Fantastic backtesting platform for options.
I love it. Yeah.
And so be curious to see the
comment from Doug. So Doug, as we're going through this, I'm not going to cover it specifically, but a way that you can kind of think about it in your mind is trying to make this so you can see it. So you see the number of trades here, that counts the number of entries and exits. So the only way this strategy is going to exit is on a stop loss. So we've got 678 trades for the 20 delta. We have 612 trades for the 10 delta. So there were, it looks like 66 less stops on the 10 delta. So just keep that in mind if you're curious to get that kind of information. So 66 less stops on the 10 delta. So let's move on to the 30 delta. So the 10 delta, we confirmed what we just learned, higher win rate. You're not going to earn as much per trade. We can actually see average winner 154, average winner 67, right? And then the losses are much higher, 408 compared to 367. So we confirmed everything that we just learned. So we're going to see that trend continue when we go into the 30 delta. Now the 30 delta does have a really nice equity curve here.
Yeah.
So the 30 delta, again, we're going to expect to lose more, but our wins are going to be pretty juicy. So again, 25.6 P&L, 53.3 annual return, 6.7 drawdown, 77.7% win percentage. Let's take a look at the 30 delta stats. So higher P&L, higher profit, right? 26 compared to 25 point.
Not much though.
Not much. 54% annual return compared to 53% annual return, and then a 6.9% drawdown compared to 6.7% drawdown. So the numbers are pretty close. However, this is the number that I like to focus on here. For this is the reason why we chose the 20 delta over the 30 delta, right? So per leg here, you're only winning 63.6% of the time. Well, that's a little bit further off from our proxy of 1 minus whatever the delta is, right? We would assume that our probability of profit is going to be a 70% here because of the 30 delta. That's because, again, as strikes get closer to the money, you're going to be more sensitive to those quick movements, and this is going to stop out a bit more. We can see there were 773 trades on the 30 delta compared to the 678 trades on the 20 delta. That's about a 95 trade swing. That means the 30 delta is stopping out 95 times more over the course of 3 years. So I don't know what percent basis that is, but that's quite a big change. Now, the thing that's different here is look at that average winner, $245, right? And because we're trading two legs here, add those together, your average win is going to be around $500, call it. Your average loss is going to be this 336 minus the 245. So your average loss in reality is going to be close to like $100. However, again, we're in the business of providing bots to human beings here. With a win percentage per leg at only 63%, that would leave us with a total win percentage of, I would guess, I'm taking a wild guess here, I don't know the actual number, I'd guess 30 to 40%.
I was going to say it's under 50, and we have to be, for when you're giving a bot to a retail trader, right? We're very transparent. Got to be a winning bot. We got to be on the right side of 50, or even if it's profitable under 50%, retail traders, generally speaking, aren't going to love it, right? So,
yeah, actually the win rate's probably closer to like 20 to 30%, if I had to guess.
I'm not going to ask what the math is on that. I'm trusting you with it. And you guys can always go to peakbot.com/strategies to see the full back-tested results on King Condor when you're looking at both legs, okay? So again, just as a reminder, the way we have it on the left-hand side, that equity curve there at the 20 delta, and Ben, this is going back, correct me if I'm wrong, the start of dailies on SPX, which is May of 22?
May 16th, 2022.
Okay, so that's this backtest period. That's what we're seeing here, okay? So, and Ben, let me just pull this up on my screen here so people can see what the actual shaked out numbers are, okay? So this is on our website, peakbot.com. You click on bots and strategies, okay? So this is the backtest data starting with $10,000 on the preset budget. Now, we've talked about this in a previous education session here. It is a $10 spread, okay? So we can see starting capital, ending capital, win rate over the back test period here, and the win rate, okay? So we're looking at around a 56.2% win rate. Wins more than it loses, and if it does, it's a very profitable strategy. So the average win, when we take into consideration both legs, $305 when you win. All right, this trades every day. It's a 1 DTE contract, but it only trades when the criteria is met, okay? So again, if volatility is high or there's anticipation of high volatility, it's going to sit out. Best trades, no trade on this type of strategy, okay? Condor strategy in a volatile market's not always the best. So average win 305, average loss 213, largest win 426, largest loss 694. Now, while we're looking at this, let's talk about what the King Condor actually did this week, okay? Past week. Now, when we track the results here, we're going to go on expiration date because that's when we win or lose. Okay, so if we're looking at the calendar here, last Monday, a week ago today, we had a contract expiring on King Condor. It was entered on 5/30, the Friday prior, okay, but expired on 6/2 last Monday for a win of $295. Check, just about right next
Per
to our
contract.
Yes. So per contract, $295 per. And as a PeakBot Pro trader, you can get up to two. So you can double that. By the way, I just made that video over the weekend. I didn't even talk about this. I should have announced this. I'm now doing 2 contracts on King Condor. I was doing 1. I'm doing 2 now.
Nice.
Yeah. So I'm doubling up.
Get in there.
I've seen it work. I'm getting in there. So we're doubling up.
Well, now that you've doubled, we're going to hit a losing streak. So
maybe I shouldn't have announced it to the world. So anyway, last Monday, W, almost $300 per contract. We had one from Wednesday into Thursday, the 4th expiring on the 5th. W, $225, okay? So not a full win, not the full size win that we can normally expect, but took profit at $225. Now, contract from Thursday into Friday, okay, was a loss, $500 loss. Now, before we get into that detail quickly, we'll give some more insight. $20 profit on the week, though, Ben, assuming average fills across traders. Still a profitable week, hardly, but still a green week for the King Condor last week. Now, our trade Friday, Ben, I think we don't have to spend too much time on this because we're getting close to market open here. We had a scenario in algo trading, which happens where we had 2 things happening at once. So any King Condor traders out there, for Friday, you had just the call side, okay, out there, and which was closed. So we took a $500 loss. It was a freak accident. Well, I don't want to say an accident, but stop losses were triggering while entries were triggering for the next day. So we cleaned that up and got out of there with minimal damage, okay? But the nice thing about the bot is it only takes 1.5, 2 wins to get back out of that hole there. So
very quick.
Ben, why don't you give us some economic events, unless you have something else, just to see if there's any days we know where the King Condor isn't going to trade this week.
Yep. I will pull that up on screen, and then we need to wrap because we've got the market opening in 10 minutes here.
Yes.
All right. So nothing much going on today. Possible that the King Condor does not trade due to VIX movement, but I haven't had a chance to check that yet. Tomorrow, nothing much going on. Wednesday, things get a little spicy with CPI data, inflation data, 10-year note auction. So Max's 0DT strategies will not be trading on Wednesday. We've got PPI on Thursday. And then there's a 30-year bond auction on Thursday. We like to shut down for that. And then we've got the Michigan Consumer Sentiment Report this Friday. So not much trading for Max's strategies this week. The King Condor, however, will be trading through all of that, unless the VIX tells us otherwise.
Yep. Or Trump gets some crazy speech.
That's true. We should check out Mr. President's calendar here.
It is kind of funny, and we'll end the show. I just refer to him as Trump. I don't say President Trump. I guess it's just he's more of a one-name guy at this point. But anyway,
that's a compliment, right? Like if you make yourself a one-name guy, you've done something in life.
Depends who you ask globally. Good thing or bad thing. There's certainly a lot of one named bad people out there.
Yeah, that's true.
But anyway. So, and by the way, we're going to wrap here. We got to get people to their jobs and lives and trades. We got 8 minutes till the bell, less than. Ben, anything on his calendar that we're worried about right now or not really?
Doug says there's a China trade meeting that could go either way. What day is that, Doug? Because I'm not seeing that on his public calendar, but you're probably looking at some better sources than I'm looking at. I see that Trump is speaking at the Invest. I'm just looking at today, actually. I didn't check the other days.
Okay. All right. So we'll keep an eye out. The good news is you as the retail trader with King Condor don't need to worry about it. It's a next gen AI strategy and it's going to sit out for you if that's what it's meant to do. So this week though. Okay. We'll keep an eye on it. One more time before we get out of here, if you want PeakBot for free, head on over to peakbot.com/Tradier or grab the QR code here. 6 months free, access to all of our live strategies and commission-free options trading for 6 months with Tradier. New accounts funded with $5,000 or more. So, Ben, anything else before we get out of here, man?
The U.S.-China trade meeting is scheduled for today, but the time is tentative. So I think we're cutting the 0 GTEs.
Okay. I like that defense. Okay, everybody. Well, hey, thank you so much for tuning in. We missed you, Mark. You'll be back next Monday. We will be live on Friday, 11:55 a.m., just shy of noon Eastern on Friday on our socials at UsePeakBot and the Tradier Hub. Thank you so much. And as always, we'll see you at the peak. Take care, everybody.
You know how the financial world goes. Here comes the buzzkill. Please make sure to take some time to read this boring disclaimer. We will owe you one.